Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon listeners. It's me 𝒊𝒏𝒇𝒐𝒓𝒆 coming on Facebook Live on the Open Gambia platform. If you bear me a minute, we share this video and we can start the program. Thank you very much. Today is Thursday, the 29th of December 2022. The time has just gone 18 minutes past 4 in the afternoon in Birmingham, England. We are coming back for a brief response to the so-called press conference on the alleged plot or attempted coup that was announced by the government of the Gambia about a week ago. And I will first of all reiterate this. I am against coup d'etat. I am a Democrat and I'm a patriotic citizen that believes in the rule of law and the due process. But again, I am here to advocate for social justice, especially knowing where we came from and seeing all the signs that are very familiar to what we went through. And again, to remind people that we live in a democracy and we should make sure we sustain that democracy. And the only way we sustain the democracy is to be vigilant. We just don't accept what the government tells us, especially a government that have never been truthful to the people. We should never entertain where we presume that people are guilty until proven innocence. We should always presume the innocence of citizens or people until they are taken through the due process of law and proven guilty, especially on treasonable charges. We should not have empathy because we know the people involved. but we should have empathy because we are human beings. We should have empathy because that's the right thing to do, and we should always advocate for the rule of law and the due process to be followed. That's the maximum volume. If you want to check on your end, that's the maximum volume there. What have transpired it's not cleared yet, and it's not been answered. From the beginning, when the news came out to now, the government have just continued. The government continue to muddy the waters, and even to raise more questions than and reassuring the public. And what they just carried out today was a public relationship exercise, but I think they end up again making people more doubtful than anything else. And let's start with this conference. Why did they even decide to say that they are going to have a press conference and invite the press when they know that they are not going to entertain any questions? Why didn't they just send a press release? Why didn't they not just send a press release? You will note one thing, that Sankare is absent. That's one of their my opinion is one of their objectives is to try to get Sankare out, because of the credibility of Sankare. He have never had credibility, but he have muddled the waters more than anybody else could have done. Now they presented this false objective. Let's get Sankare out of this. But Sankare is instrumental in this investigation, if you ask me, because of what's behind the scenes. Because these allegations might end up being a smoke screen for something more, something serious, something real. This might, let me emphasize, might be a fake coup. There might be a real coup. This fake coup can be put in to distract the state, to distract the people. This allegation might be someone like Sankare overreacted in order to show his importance. And this is the character of Sankare. This is the character of Sankare. Because of, again, I said this here, and still the government did not come and address this. We have a position of vice president vacant for almost 2 weeks. And according to them, not me, it's not likely that the vice president will come back to the position. They are already jokering to fill the vacancy. That's in a nutshell. That's where people should be thinking of, to bring this into perspective. What role does this have to play in what's been unveiled here? We have to open this up to see the real motive behind these allegations, or if anything have happened. The absence of the vice president, which again, they themselves, Sankare and people around Sankare, people within State House, are saying that the symptoms of that the vice president has is not consistent to the existing medical condition that the vice president experience. That's how far I am going to tell Gambians. It's up to the State House to come out and give us these answers. The vice president was evacuated. The vice president was not well since he left Turkey. And he was evacuated to India. And it's almost 2 weeks now. There's a vacancy. If anything, God forbid, happens to President Barrow, who is next in line? The vice president is not active. He's not going to be. We don't know when he's going to be active. We pray for him to recover his health. But recovering his health too did not determine that he is going to return to that position. Probably he might feel, look, it's too much on my health. The family might have put pressure on him. You need to rest. This is too much pressure. Whatever it is, he might not return. But in this absence, the vacuum, who is next in line is Fabakary Tombong Jatta. But again, let's critically think. Within this period, who are those people who would have motives to try to position themselves to be next in line? Remember this, our constitution. Who would have a motive? And who are those people lobbying? Who are those people who want to position them to be next in line? And what kind of people are these? We have already seen yesterday at the NPP Congress, the pulling and pushing. And this is just to control the party or to have a significant position in the party. Now, what do you think of in the government as vice president? With so many things going on right now in the West Africa region. You see, there's a lot that Gambians should concentrate on. There's a lot this government should concentrate on. There's a lot we should be looking at. And these allegations might just present a distraction. I am not saying it's a complete distraction. That is for the government to prove. For us as citizens is to be vigilant, because of we know the kind of government we are dealing with. Entirely, all governments, be it the United Kingdom, be it America or anywhere else. You have to be critical. They don't tell you the truth. They tell you what they want you to know. They want you, not what you should know. Then that's why it was important for what our representatives, be the House of Parliament or the press that was instantly available, so able to ask questions, so that Gambians will be enlightened, so that we can hold them accountable. But what have they presented us? As I started to explain, its one objective is to take Sankara out of the scene, because of they have realized how the failure of presenting something. Now they're trying to regroup and to present and to satisfy or to meet the expectations of the people, or skeptics, or what you call them, or doubters. The same thing they did from first press release to the second press release. Everything has been modeled up or trying to meet up. When we talked about, oh, this is not enough, we have not even had nothing from any of the stakeholders, they brought the defense minister. But the defense minister read from a script, that exact script that Sankara have produced. And he was not comfortable. He was not convincing. He was not assertive as a defense minister that your government alleged was, there was a plot, there was an attempt. And still, this plot and attempt, we'll come back to it. It's still not even been dispelled. We cannot even tell what these people are trying to tell us. The defense minister failed. Next minute, because of, again, they turned around to, present us a captain and a second lieutenant. Because of what? Questions about how can 5 NGOs, be plotting or attempting to overthrow. Now, people went on to say, why is the army not saying anything? The army, when the army force came, the army contradicted or dismissed. Why the army did not come and condemn, and still the army did not condemn. In fact, the army came and gave a plausible reason for the little bit of movement of troops within Bakau, that they were having a drill, and yes, and they invited the public to attend the next day, which was Wednesday, and the public went and attend and saw what the different units from different battalions allowed. At that time, that's the time the government announced an attempted coup or a plot or whatever they label it. Which again make us really doubtful. They're crossing a coup and they allow the army to regroup in Bakau from different units to be mobilized, to be mobile. The CDS was there. There's no heightening of security anywhere. Again, now they went to the drawing board and they came out and make a press conference, a press statement that they have constituted 11 person, man, or whatever you call them, a commission or investigation panel to investigate what. And again, they have not yet, even with their brief, before they tell us that they have constituted this body, within their brief, they cannot even give us a plausible circumstance briefing, evidence of something that happened. They struggle with that. Now, why go onto a panel? What's going to be present to the panel? This is what they're trying to build confidence here. And to build this confidence, we see the absence of Sankare out of the way. Now they presented the new boy in town. I'm calling him the new boy in town. It's a terminology that we use, but that's the new what you call it, the new National Security Advisor, Mr. 𝒊𝒏𝒈. Again, yesterday someone said to me, why is 𝒊𝒏𝒈 getting himself, and this is someone that worked with 𝒊𝒏𝒈, no 𝒊𝒏𝒈, he said, why is 𝒊𝒏𝒈 getting himself in this shape? Sorry for the language, but this is what he said. I said to the person, he happened to be there, probably he will rescue himself if he have credibility to see, or he will rescue the government. He can go with it and finally convince the government, look, this is the best way to get out of this. Let's get out of this. And let's throw Sankare under the bus. Or let's throw some people under the bus. He might do that. He might do that. But again, he might comfort. Try to be, look, I am already here. I'm securing a job here. And it's so much this, let me do it. I'm not saying he's going to do that. But again, I am not saying that he will not do that. And I know people come, no, I know, people will come and vouch for, oh, no, I know 𝒊𝒏𝒈 will not do that. I know this, I pass it down. But again, Gambia, we forget very quickly. We forget very quickly. People say, but he left a good job. Do we know whether he left a good job or the job have finished? The contract have finished, that's why he came in here. I'll tell you, I did not know of a Gambian still that left a good job to come and take a government job. All of those people that have ever been mentioned finished their contract, or the contract is about to finish and they jump and secure. They are not doing it for us. They're doing it for them. I don't know the circumstances of Abu taking this job, but I am saying, as far as I know, this is the norm. Then we should not just assume or continue this narrative that whoever left a job somewhere else come to government is because of love of government, love of people. What we know for fact, that's not true. And the example of that is 𝒊𝒏𝒇𝒐𝒓𝒏𝒈. The example of that is 𝒊𝒏𝒇𝒐𝒓𝒏𝒈. Again, 𝒊𝒏𝒇𝒐𝒓𝒏𝒈 was the poster boy. Oh, at least he's not part of the 𝒊𝒏𝒇𝒐𝒓𝒏. He was not part of 𝒊𝒏𝒇𝒐𝒓𝒏. He is this, he is this, he is this. We find out, one, he lied. His job finished. There's no job in Arusa. They all finished their contracts, and in time he came and get the best that he can get, this best job any Gambian could wish for that time to push for transitional justice. What did he do with that? Oh, he's trustworthy, he did. No, he actually came, and now any sensible Gambian can see what he did. He actually did the job for Barrow and played. Because of he have Gambians represent him on social media and the media for a PR, selling an agenda. He is different. What have he delivered? He makes sure that he ran when he knew that he muddled up. He makes sure the so-called draft constitution is not gonna be passed. He knew. He jumped. He was part of anything that muddled up the TRRC. He is part and principal who benefited in the corruption of the Janneh Commission, which when I raised it, it was a controversial thing. But it's proven now. He just married 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈, the same 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 I pointed out that was part with 𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈, and with a company, I forgot I still got it on records, 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈's so-called company, that he was seen, at that time, even I don't want his private life to be dealt with. I just say a close associate. I knew they were dating. He made sure 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 and 𝒊𝒏𝒑𝒐𝒓𝒏 had this contract. The contract was not bid for. And the contract value is about 100 million, because almost 10% of $1 billion. If they had recovered $1 billion, they would have earned 100 million. Today he went on and married that same lady. They continued the relation, of course, and some assets that are doubtfully returned, and every other thing. He knew. He was there. Not only that, if the 50 million donated by Senegal now is disappeared, and that modeling too, he did it. I have came out here and proved that he did that. But again, this to show examples. Now Abu Jeng has been presented. They wanted to present Abu Jeng. Now they're trying to build up their credibility, because all the other people around cannot. And they did not say anything. They cannot be seen as credible. Now they are desperate to save themselves. The international cannot believe them. Listen to every any program and interview for this government, and they're not even going forward to make a case to the international. The gullible, the so-called ECOWAS, we know what they represent, and the gullible opposition political parties and gullible CSOs went on to endorse this so-called thing without any of fact being presented, not even a circumstantial evidence. Now Abu Jeng is at the forefront. What is Abu Jeng going to do? So far, Abu Jeng is reading a script, which I doubt, I don't know how much. After this program, I've contacted 5 people that work with Abu Jeng, that knew Abu Jeng. They said Abu Jeng 20-something years ago, even the language would not have been Abu Jeng's language 20 years ago, especially when now he's more refined, more experienced. You know, what is difficult is to manufacture something without any evidence. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to lie. It's easy to convince people who doesn't know anything. But to convince people who understand how things work, who are very vigilant, is very difficult. And Abu Jeng came, and you can see that he was struggling to read. You can hear his body language. There's no confidence. And even people around him, so and others, you see them. These people would have been hopping and puffing if they had anything. We know their character. They would have been showing their loyalty, their whatever it is, if they had anything. But they did not do that. Their language, their composition and everything. And they let the cat out. No questions. What was the point of inviting the press? What was the point of inviting the press? No questions. And again, from experience, accepting questions from the press was to the advantage of the state. If the state is convinced that they have the competency, they are honestly pursuing without any agenda, they would not be scared of being asked questions. That's to their favor. They can understand, because the press will be representing what people are thinking. And then the people would be convinced from there on. But if they have something to hide, if they have no substance, if they don't have the substance to provide, they will not want to answer those questions. And if the questions are intrusive, all they need to do is say, sorry, we can't provide that at present. It will compromise our investigation. That's what you say. There are so many things they can answer without compromising. Compromising investigations. Then the only reason I can forward that they did not take, because they didn't have the confidence. that more holes would be exposed. And it's a disrespect to the entire press, disrespect to Gambians, because the press were there to represent the Gambians. Now, they made advance of a conspiracy here. That's what they did. They came out and made advance of conspiracy, an elaborated plan. We should be very careful. I know it's easy for, I am not going, look, this is about security, but I'll tell you, I am not going to say, look, you don't have to be a security expert. You have to use your common sense. You have to use your common sense. For them to give out this conspiracy does not mean that. It's a fact. We have to find out where did they get this narrative from, and how they got this narrative. Where, how, and what is the actual narrative? What's the fact of this narrative? The elaborated plan, financier and backers. Now, they're telling you financial and backers. They did not tell you. You see, now, if you have asked them, have you questioned any of these financiers? Any of these financiers within the jurisdiction of the Gambia? Have you forwarded any request to any embassy or these things? This is where the question should go. That's why I said we should be very careful. Governments fabricate. And this government have many reasons to want to fabricate. The vice president issue is one, but there are so many issues there on popularity, elections coming, and there are so many things. And we know that it's a government that can do it because it's the same government, it's the same people. Be the security sector, be the SISDG, be the police, be whatever outfit you have there, is the same people, the same mindset, the same politicians, the same people they're dealing with. That's why we should be careful. Someone went on to say, oh, well, we should take coups very seriously. Obviously, we should take coups very seriously. And the person went on to say, anybody, the arrest and so on. I said, look, why do you think there's a presumption of innocence? And I said, look, if your father was arrested, would you be saying the same thing? I said, can you point of a reasonable, reason for some of these arrests or allegations? I said, why can't they just extend that to anybody else? I said, that's why we don't encourage this. We accept, we follow the due process, the presumptions of innocence on the people getting. Make sure the arrests are done based on, and we're going to look at the basis of this. Now they're talking about elaborated for financial backers. They are even raising more questions than answering our doubts. Now, if you realize that this information is looked like new information they had after the arrest. This, bro, my busy online, my on air. Name of later, my on air. This information, financial backers and everything. Now, we did not see any urgency in the or any apart from an individual. Now we understand from the sister of the one of the corporals arrested that guy was arrested in the Combo and taken all the way to Kiang and the properties in Kiang, the farm and property site, and apparently, in fact, this guy is a medic in the Navy. He's not even an infantry soldier or Navy gunner or anything, but he was a medic. And they took him, and this guy spent most of his time in Kiang than even Combo. They went there, they did not find anything. According to the sister, they came back. There's no other movement, everything, but they never advanced this conspiracy of financial backers and other people within and outside the country. this is important to understand. How did they come about with this coup? Because if I'll get to that point. Now they went on talking about an elaborated plan that the naval base, and again, guys, the word naval base, don't hear it and think it's something else. Go and look for yourself. The Gambian, what we call the Gambian Navy is not even qualified to be called a navy. It's just a label. Go and look at what's there. Go and find out how many boats are running. What I mean, go and see the mechanisms out there. How much. I mean, go and look at the capacity in the Navy. But when they say the naval base would be used as a launching pad, you see, again, this is creating more questions than answers. Now, a lance corporal, a nurse, and these things from the naval base. Because, again, we'll come to that, the two officers' name, the intel guy and one at the 1st Battalion, again, they are still not the ringleaders. Still, the couple is the ringleader, and he was going to launch this from this. I mean, for Abu Jang to read this out, I hope Abu Jang will rescue himself or rescue the government from this. But so far, he is, I mean, comforting to the conspiracy himself. Now, for the naval base. Now, for things that they need to do, to take over State House, to take over the Denton Bridge, to take over airport, to take over these installations where you have, if you don't know, even the is it 2nd Battalion or 4th Battalion, Bakau Barracks, they have the ECOMOC headquarters there. They have ECOMOC base there facing them with heavy weapons and so. The mechanisms in place. I don't want to go into that. But I can tell you there are mechanisms in place that technically disarm the Gambia Armed Forces. There are mechanisms in place that disarm Gambians within the State House. There are mechanisms everywhere. Now, to say that these people are going to do all this, this is conspiracy they're trying to sell you. And you see, this is the same thing. This is the same way Yahya Jammeh used to message his so-called attempted coups. Or cell company will be taken over, some banjo will be born, politicians will be arrested. Now, again, they have pointed at something. They said from the rank of major to this thing will be dismissed. You see, now, are they trying to play to try to get, I mean, you see, they are even destabilizing the armed forces. This is very reckless. It's very reckless. Or these people were, didn't we not hear that? Didn't we not hear that from Yahya Jammeh before? Or they will arrest all senior officers. They will kill all senior officers. Didn't we not hear that? Can we not just think? Now, if these people say that from rank of major, that means that the captain would be most senior part of their conspiracy. Now they are not going only to take on the economic, they are going to take on the Gambia Armed Forces itself, command. And these are the lance corporals, because still now, they have not. The basics they could have done is to explain a link, at which you have not been nothing wrong. And that can still be presented to the courts. The link between these people. Still now, it's people who are familiar with this say, look, they cannot see a substantial link between these individuals. I know none of them. I know none of them. But people that know them cannot say that they cannot, and they did not believe that even there's an electronic link. And if I said a link, would be to show that in 1 year or in 6 months, these 5 people have hardly spoke, or they started to communicate in 5 months. But within these 5 months, to date, gradually, you can see how much communication they have. And with whatever network, these are things that are available, because you know their phone numbers. It's easy. Go to the telecoms. The surveillance they did to prove these people meeting They say they have people meeting. I'll come to that. How this thing might be presented. This elaborated plan of taking over the bridge, taking over this, taking over that, taking over that, taking over that. This must be new. And if it's new, how did they get this? How did they get this? They must have got this from the people they arrested. Interesting. Because if they have got this, why, if they have learned that this is what these people were going to do, but they did not take any action to secure this thing? That's why we were asking that if this plot was true, that this plot not even attempted is a plot. The minute they got this plot, how much else do they need to do to have evidence? Look, we live in a democracy. Even in a dictatorship, you will need the evidence. There are 5 people so far, 7 people so far, with 2 officers. Now, even the people on the run, we don't hear them anymore. You see, again, they have dropped that Baji name. Still now, they did not tell us the identity of that Baji, his profile and pictures. They dropped that Baji name, or people on the run. They said people on the run. Why can't they? They are serving officers. It's easy to get their profiles. How are they? How can the public? How can people help them? Identify. Arrest these people if they are not identified. Now, to say that these things are going to happen, this is the conspiracy. You need to have something. You have to, before you act on it. Now, this is the difference here. They might have information, not intelligence, and they mistaking this information as intelligence. You see, these are things that can easily happen. Someone can just go and lie to them. Someone can just go and give them something he had. This can happen. I'll tell you, it had happened before. But what happened is dealt with in the unit. Someone might have just heard about Modu Ibrahim and 5 other people. That or this person have said it, this person have said that, and went to the NSS or whoever it is and said, oh, I heard Ibrahim and Modu are saying that they're going to overthrow. Oh yeah, and if they're going to overthrow, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this. And they run with that. Did you look into this? Did you look into this information to build an intelligence on it? The background of Ibrahim Modu and other things? Did you put on a surveillance? Say, what else did you do? But after announcing it again, it can be fabricated. In the absence of any material evidence, the government can go on and fabricate. We have seen statements being issued, which have never, it's proven at the TRRC, and others, and still don't think it will not happen. They can manufacture this information, evidence after. One of the, I've said to someone that watch this out. Likely, they are going to get one of the arrested people to be state witness. That is very suspect. When they get one of the arrested people to be state witness to come and say, yes, this happened, or did you recognize this? Yes, this person wrote this, and it might all be a lie, and that person would not be prosecuted. They might get one of the people arrested as state witness. They might get someone who is not arrested as the informer and say that that identity will be hid. They need to hide the identity of that informer. Or the intelligence officer will come and testify on basis, and this would not pass any, remember this, what happened in the WhatsApp group. You know, remember in 2018 when they arrested those NCOs and junior soldiers in that WhatsApp group alleged of coup d'etat, took them to court martial, found them guilty. But when they went to the High Court, they were freed. Because of making a statement doesn't mean that you have the intentions. It's not enough. Have to be proven beyond reasonable doubt. That's why you need to take time to gather this evidence. We live in a democracy. even in a dictatorship. If you want to be effective, you have to. There's nothing that these people were in position to strike. There's nothing. You have enough time to get to the bottom of this. But what we are presented here is just now the same thing. They're trying to push down a conspiracy. Now they want us. They want the gullible press, if any, would run with it. This is how they manage this. That's why they don't like social media, because of some people like us will come and get into the nitty-gritties. But they are paid journalists. They have paid journalists. They paid, or they did this thing. They're doing them PR, and others will run with it, just as before. That's all possible. But again, let's remember, these are people, human beings. They are family of people in these things, and we should respect the rule of law. We should follow the rule of law. We should follow the due process in order to determine this. The timing of the information. Then you see, we have to. That's why I said we have to look at this information being shared. When did they find this information? How did they find this information? And that's where the so-called state witness will come in. Who is the state witness? One of the arrested officers. Who is the state witness? Or is one of our informers? We cannot testify. Some people are saying the 𝒊𝒏𝒈 and others, many. And the CDS should know better, because the CDS was implicated by Ibrahim Amari, saying that he this. I mean, but you know our people. That's it. If it did not affect them, they don't care. If that was the case today, Mile 2 would not be how it is today. How many former ministers, how many former party leaders, how many former dignitaries, or whatever you call them, technocrats have gone to Mile 2? But still we have Mile 2 as it is. They don't care. Once they're out of Mile 2, they don't care. How many, with the injustice and everything, how comes we don't have reforms? Because of, no, the bad laws and everything will be there, because no, it doesn't affect us anymore, or we think will not affect us anymore. It's coming back to haunt us. They are using the same systems and laws and everything. This instituted panel is a lie. It's nothing like a standard practice. It's nothing like a best practice or standard practice. It's a lie. This invented by Jammeh and dictators. That's what they do. Now, they still maintain that the Lance Corporal is the ringleader. For Abu Jan to come out and read that. And they still maintain that the 5 people are the original. But they included an intel. Again, I don't know the intel officer. Don't be surprised that intel officer turned around to be state witness. Listen to this. Let me repeat it. Don't be surprised that intel officer turned around to be state witness. So far, people that work for him, he's not a conspirator. He's a serious person. He's an academic. He's something else. Now, that lieutenant might be another loose cannon, because we have so many loose cannons. And this is what happened. Because disgruntled men, the entire army, the entire country are disgruntled, and they are human beings. Yes, the nature of their job is sensitive, but that would not stop them from uttering irresponsible statements. But doesn't mean that they have the intentions. It's frustration to these things. And yes, they can be punished. They should be punished. It's a disciplined institution. But we don't, take something, out of proportion to wreck people's life. It's not an individual life you wreck. The person is a father, is a son, is a cousin, whatever it is, it's life you are wrecking, and it destabilizes society, and it destabilizes the institutions. Because that's why we need a reform. This is to expose the vulnerability of this government, the incompetence of this government, and the lack of reform, the lack of transition, and how vulnerable this country is. People might say to justify economic, whatever it is, it not sell is because of we are in a fragile state. And how can we say that we have a democratic government 6 years and be this fragile? When are we going to be a stable government? Because of the intentions are not that. vast majority of people working for this government will just go into what they can get and take home. That's what we have. And the entire narrative here is what it is. Now, why the secrecy of this panel? Have you seen something with this government lately? Oh, we are not going to tell you the people that we sold the assets of Jammeh, our assets, sold in public, sold in the auction. Now we are not going to tell you. One. Oh, we are not going to tell you the business people that we give your reserves, government, state reserves. We are not going to tell you. And the arrogance from the governor of Central Bank. Now, you constitute a democracy for God's sake. You want to charge people for treason. You constitute, and these people are serving, members from the police, and they say, no, we are not going to tell you. And they took an oath of secrecy. We are not going to tell you who they are. You think we will not know who they are? But why are you not telling us who they are? You think the people will go in front of them and know them and would not tell you who they are? You think they themselves will not go and tell who they are? I mean, this incompetency of this government. You think we don't know who you guys sold the assets of? You think we don't know these things? No, because you cannot just admit that. You are corrupt. You are incompetent. Why secrecy? What secrecy about the panel? And you want us to believe in the outcome of the investigations when it's not transparent. Where's the transparency? Abu Jeng to stand before Gambians to say, no, we are not going to tell you this thing. And a law enforcement officer and a so-called a doctor. That's why I said, Gambia, we should be careful. He has to prove himself. We have seen it before. We have seen it before. So far, Abu have not lived up to expectation. And friends will tell you this, friends will tell you that. But I spoke to about five of them today. They all said, to be candid, they are kind of disappointed. I said, either he rescued himself or he rescued the government. Come out to make sure that the government do the right thing. I said, look, this is how it established. Yes, these people have said this and this. There's no proof that they have the intention. They don't have capacity. Or it's premature. Whatever it is, charge them accordingly. But don't just throw them out there to say the conspiracy or this thing, we're going to charge them for treason when they have not committed a treasonable act. And the danger with this is when you hype this and end up it failing, you are emboldening others who might have the real intentions. And you are undermining the institutions. We know we have mercenary judges. We know that. But again, if mercenary judges rule according as mercenary judges, we will know. You see, convicting someone wrongfully does not mean that the people would not be aware. Nelson Mandela and others went to prison. But people know that they were convicted wrongly. And many other people in the Gambia went to prison. They were convicted wrongly. We will know that. It does not change anything. It's just affirmed that the state is corrupt. That's how much the volume can be. Can you check on your end? That's how much volume I've been using all the time. Can you check on your end, please? This is where we are now. As I said, the secrecy of the panel. But the likely scenario, as I said here, is probably, plausibly, one or two of these people might have said something about, oh, we should be doing this, we should do that. That happens. And I tell you, that is happening every level of that country. And obviously, if you are a teacher, if you are this, you might say this. If you are that, if you are jobless, you might say something else. If you are a soldier, this is what you say. Is it right? No. Are you to be punished? Yes. But what sort of punishment? Does it constitute a coup d'etat? No. Does it constitute a plot? No. There's no, you need that evidence to prove it. They should have a capacity to do it. if they have capacity, there should be evidence that they acted on it, or they would have acted on it. And again, I know that's one point people always fail, and I want to point this out before leaving, is the influence. Command and influence, command and control. You see, even the Russians are struggling to coordinate naval, land forces and air forces. Russia. You think it's just easy? You know how much it takes, and our army is technically disarmed. You know how much it takes to coordinate, to synchronize, to command and control, to mobilize. You know, you think these things are just, you want to do it, you get up and do it. A lance corporal in the Navy, okay, when we are ready, we're going to you have to take over the marine unit first. It's a unit. They're called naval base. You have to control that. You have to command that unit. Then you have to coordinate, command and control the other units. You have to coordinate, synchronize. And you think, what capacity does these people have? And the influence. And again, for those people, the government apologists, again, the problem we have, the distorted TRRC that did not establish how the coup happened properly, or the causes of the coup and everything else, everything modeled up. People come and say what they want to save themselves or whatever it is. One thing missing is the influence Yahya Jammeh have. One thing missing is the influence the lieutenants have. You have to establish that influence. This was a time that, again, the Gambia the Gambians, senior officers were isolated and were moved away. Now the so-called Nigerians are brought in to lead the command. They alienated the authorities. They in fact make it possible. They put fuel to the fire, the disgruntlement, and gave power to the lieutenants who are platoon commanders. Platoon commanders and NCOs are the backbone of the NCOs are the backbone of the forces and the men. But again, if it's because of the PPP government was already out. You just don't overthrow a government. The government must have to lose everything. Again, the push at I know people would call Yahya Jammeh a coward or whatever it is, but he's strategic. And he's a coward for a reason, because he knows he has something to lose. He goes for the plump. I am not, people know me, I'm not Yahya Jammeh apologist, but why do I have it right? Because I don't underrate him, underestimate what he does. I know his ambitions. He is a very ambitious person. People who followed him know his development. Did not realize how smart Yahya Jammeh was. Go and find out. An entire PPP cabinet, Yahya Jammeh had influence on all of them. Yahya Jammeh had influence up to President Jawara. At the latter part, Yahya Jammeh was the principal provider of intelligence to the NSS, to the extent that they had to cover him. And he said to them, look, smart, that Jawara was not even convinced of some of these conspiracies. And for the intelligence agency to convince Jawara to say, look, this is not, I know you are thinking that there's a bipartisan here or there's a tribal this thing here. The person in fact giving us this information is not a Mandinka, it's not a Wolof. The person will bring the person to you. And Yahya was covered on the a blanket was put over Yahya, driven to State House. Blanket was put over Yahya into the corridors and sat with Jawara. And manipulated, obviously, Jawara. And manipulated Secretary General. If Sarah Jangha would admit to it. Kababajo had made a statement at the TRRC saying that Yahya Jammeh took him to Sarah Jangha. Sarah Jangha would admit to it. Kababajo had made a statement at the TRRC saying that Yahya Jammeh took him to Sarah Jangha. What influence did Yahya Jammeh have on Sarah Jangha? And the entire security strategy or the coup mechanism in the country was determined by Yahya Jammeh because of his fake intelligence he was feeding the command. Yaya Jammeh have control over the president to the extent of he used to go to marabouts for president. That's how much he have control over these people. Go and find out from family of ministers. They will tell you. Yaya Jammeh was a frequent visitor of 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈 property. Go and find out from his family or the guards at 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈's property up to the night before the coup. Yaya Jammeh have dinner with 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈. You think that person was not influencer? Yaya Jammeh was a frequent visitor to the American embassy. Andrew Winter was a frequent visitor to Yaya Jammeh's residence in Bakau. There's so many things. But no, because we don't like him, we will just say, because he doesn't come out eloquent. Yaya Jammeh have influence through on the Jawara family through Louis Njai, Mrs. Louis Njai of the in-law, former minister. I know that. The time of the coup, the entire state house, these things Yaya Jammeh have influence on because he worked there, he worked with them. And yes, and most of them were his tribesmen because he gave intelligence to make people believe that most of these things were based on tribe. And now they have to bring most of this component of a tribe mechanism into it. And he played them on that. The latest, you hear the latest audio from Lang Tombong saying his relationship with Yaya Jammeh. And anybody will tell you, they all will tell you. The state guard commander will tell you. My own brother will tell you his relationship with Yaya Jammeh. You think he's not influencer? You think he cannot manipulate all this? He manipulated everything. And his time in his office will tell you how he can manipulate things. Why am I saying this? There are people out there, the likes of Samsar. They will try to come out to make up to be an expert, to be this, but they don't have credibility. If they know the facts, they're not going to tell you the facts. He's a liar. This guy have agreed to be a liar. Anything he advanced is for his, for a purpose. Everything Samsar advanced is for a purpose. It's not about facts. The guy doesn't respect the facts. The guy is looking for something. And those people in the diaspora or that person in the diaspora, I'm not going to even dignify him. Coming after me to attack me as my personality, calling me a drunk, calling me whatever it is, doesn't even know me, doesn't know my development. Look, I am out here 7 good years. If anybody have anything to VR, let them VR it. I have never spoke on anything, in fact, that can be proven wrong. Because what I tell people, my intentions, that's what guide me. My experience, that was guide me. Why am I doing this? This is, we are walking back. And if we are not vigilant, this government are going to cause us more trouble. For 6 years, they are not taking us out. We are going deeper into the woods. And for Abu Jain, a lot of people have trust in him, have confidence in him, and he's been presented. But so far, what has transpired today, he have not lived up to expectation. And that's where we should be vigilant. And let's follow this, and let's ask for the evidence. And this have to be proven beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law. And the Seki court martials, just as we see it in 2018, convicted, high court discharged, dismissed. We have to be very careful about these things. And this undermines our justice systems. So it undermines our institutions. That's why we need to be very vigilant. The due process have to be followed. These so-called panels are all Yaya Jammeh's creation and dictator creation. I mean, there's a process in obtaining evidence. Hassan B. Jallow have written a whole thing on law of evidence, then should not be that difficult to interview people, to gather things. But if there's nothing, it's hard to find anything unless you manufacture it. That's where we are now. Thank you very much, guys. It's been a long one. Should have been a short one. Thank you.